Hi, my name is Ilene Slatko. I am the CEO of DSS Consulting. And on behalf of my CPE, I'd like to spend just a few minutes today talking to you about Social Security and some of the proposed changes. I know it's a concern to every American right now who works and every American who receives benefits. The current projected date for the Social Security Trust Fund to be depleted so that the amount of benefits that constitute 100% of someone's benefits would be reduced. That date is about 2034. It depends whether we're looking at disability or regular Social Security, and it depends on the year. So somewhere 2033, 2034, maybe 2035, but it is not too far off. So I'd like to discuss with you not only what some of the proposed changes are and what you can do about them, but I'd like to give you a little history about how Social Security first came into being and maybe lay out how we got into this predicament so that it's more factual as you understand this, because I do believe it's important for all of us to have the facts on this. And this is, it's tough because there are many Americans for whom Social Security is the majority of their monthly income. And that will need to change in all likelihood. But first I want to talk to you about how Social Security started and how we got here. So Social Security first was signed into law in 1935. It was after the Great Depression. President Roosevelt signed it into law. The first payments started in 1940. Now it's important to note two key facts that were around 1935 to 1940. The first fact is that if you look at a birth rate chart in the US, what you'll find is the birth rates per thousand in 1935 to 1940, those years when Social Security was signed into, and then when it started paying benefits, the birth rate then was almost double what it is now. That's important, and I'll get to that in just 1 minute. The next fact to understand is that back in 1935 to 1940, the average life expectancy was around 60 years of age. So that when Social Security first came into being, and the calculations were done about how to pay as you go, which is how Social Security is set up, so that Social Security income collected each year is designed to pay the benefits necessary for that year. When Social Security first started to pay out and people were retiring in their mid-50s, they might have a life expectancy on average of about 5 years. And so the benefits that were paid were only calculated for 5 to 7 years, maybe even 10 for the people who had longevity. Now we have half the number of births in this country per thousand, and the average life expectancy has risen to 77 years of age. Retirement for full Social Security benefits now is at 67 years old. Those of us who are in the queue might be from 65 to 67, but for workers now, the age to retire, or to receive full benefits, I should say, is age 67. Social Security has a mechanism whereby people can start collecting at age 62. So a lot of people do, because that's been the planning date that they can retire at 62. Benefits are reduced at 62 through when you're through the rest of your life, but they're reduced by a percentage depending on how many years prior to your full Social Security age you are when you start to take benefits. Social Security also right now, excuse me, is designed to pay an increase, an enhanced benefit if you wait until you're at least 70 to begin to receive those benefits. So there are a lot more people now that are retired than there were when it was first calculated. Obviously, we had the baby boomers, where the birth rate shot up, and probably everyone in the government that was looking at this said, oh, great, we're going to be okay because we now have a lot of births. That means a lot of workers coming into the system to support the pay-as-you-go Social Security. Of course, we know now that there were a period of years, the baby boom generation, where a lot of us were born, and then it dropped off. As I said, now we're about half where we were when Social Security first came into being. Currently, I should say in 2021, we had 179 million workers in this country, and 65 million who were receiving benefits. So we had just over 2 to 1, right? Just over 2 workers supporting 1 retiree or 1 person who was getting some kind of Social Security benefits. It is not possible for that to continue, which is why we're in this problem right now. Unfortunately, this has been known about for a long time. And so it is on both sides of the aisle for decades that this has been a hot potato, and no one has been willing to push a solution through. Currently, there are 6 or 7 bills floating around. Very few have any likelihood of even making it to a vote, and very few, none right now, are given any potential for passing in their current state. But it is something that our representatives are talking about now, because now they know their feet are to the fire. So that's the background. Now let me give you a little bit more to think about. Social Security is 6.2% out of your paycheck and 6.2% out of your employer's paycheck. If you're self-employed, you pay the full freight. So if you're self-employed, you are paying 12.4% towards Social Security. There is an income cap right now in 2022 of $147,000. So that if you make over $147,000, your Social Security deductions stop. So one of the things that is being talked about right now is that cap will either increase, or there'll be what's called a donut, so that only high wage earners, right now they're saying over $400,000, only over 400 would again be paying into Social Security, and there would be a donut hole in between the 147 or where it currently is and 400,000. So that's one of the things that's being talked about. One of the other things that's being talked about is a reduction in benefits. Right now they're saying that they could continue to pay without any change to the system. They could continue to pay about 77 cents on the dollar of benefits that people were expecting. That doesn't sit well with many people. So we'll see if that happens. They're talking about raising the age of full Social Security, what's called your FRA, your full retirement age. So whether they will do away with the early Social Security benefits at a reduction, or whether they will raise both early and the FRA, the full retirement age, is yet to be seen. But again, if we think back to when it was started, people were retiring at maybe 55, they were for full retirement, excuse me, they were taking their Social Security benefits and they were dying on average within 5 or 10 years. So now we have people taking Social Security benefits and living for more years. It's not unheard of now for someone to start taking Social Security at 62 and live to be 92. So they're taking for 30 years. Much more likely now than when it first started. So these are all the things that are difficult to calculate. So let's see. We've talked about raising the age of full retirement. We've talked about cutting the benefits. We've talked about increasing the taxes in terms of tax levels or the amount of Social Security tax. Both might be possible. There may be some needs-based way to determine who receives Social Security benefits, so that if you already have a robust retirement, that you've set money aside for yourself, maybe you won't qualify or you won't qualify for full retirement. These are all the things that I suspect will be on the table. I want to give you one more piece of the puzzle, two more pieces of the puzzle, especially if you're younger. Okay, this message, this specific message is for you if you're younger. There's only one retirement who will be impacted, one person's retirement who will be impacted if you don't take matters into your own hands and put money aside for your retirement. And obviously that's your retirement. So there's only one person's retirement who will be affected, and that's you. So my suggestion is look at the numbers, plan to put more money aside, and recognize right now that of the 6.2% that you are contributing and the 6.2% that the employer is matching, or the 12.4% that you might be putting away as a self-employed, or that you are putting away as a self-employed person, Social Security can only be invested in Treasury securities. So while we've enjoyed as consumers low interest rates, that means that Social Security funds have been growing at a slower rate. If you know how to calculate using the rule of 72, how long it takes for your money to double, and again, it's a quick thumbnail rule, you'll quickly realize that Social Security is a very ineffective means of investing those dollars. Now, it's done because it is to provide a safety net. And so if you're providing a safety net, it has to be safe. But if you, as a younger person, start now to plan on having Social Security either impact you not at all, in terms of no benefit, or only represent a very small portion of your own investment dollars, you can begin to plan, put away more in a 401k, put away more in an IRA, whether it's traditional or Roth. Put away and make sure that your funds are well invested. It's not difficult to beat the low rate that Social Security funds have been growing at. So when you put all this together, as scary as it is, as it feels, and as it sounds, you have the ability to still control the outcome for your retirement. So I would encourage you to keep your ear to the ground about these changes. Recognize that over the course of your working years, just as over the course of my working years, things have changed. Over the course of your working years, things will change more. Take care of yourself. This is the noise in the background on Social Security. My best advice to you is to assume that it won't be there, and then be delighted if in fact it does. It's another tax at this point, and we can't change that, at least not at this point. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Social Security, some of the potential changes, and how it impacts all of us, because all of us are going to be making these kinds of calculations. So good luck with everything. I hope you've enjoyed this insight. Check back on myCPE, because there are classes that will be offered about this subject. So thank you for joining me today. I appreciate it. Bye now.